Hello friends, I got a package. This is a package for a gentleman called Vault 60 Overseer. I guess he has a brand that he's trying to develop around that word. So he didn't mention anything about mentioning his real name. Actually, I don't even know if I do know his real name. Probably in some email somewhere. Anyway, he sent me a package and it's got 2 items in it. It's got a, well, we'll open it and see. This time I'm going medieval, using a screwdriver because I'm too lazy to go get a knife. Supposedly he has some kind of a logo in here he wants me to plug or something. Yeah, he sent me a Kickstart ROM that he got on eBay that's actually made by the Colanto, is that how you pronounce it? And it doesn't work. And an Amiga A1010 drive, the original Commodore Amiga 3.5 inch external floppy drive. I believe it's identical to the one that's in the Amiga 1000. It was just put into an external case with some active circuits. So the front seems to be loose. Right there. And there's supposedly something in here that he wanted me to show. Maybe it's inside with the ROM. I don't see it in the box. So yeah, I hope this button is okay. Looks like something was probably damaged. I mean, it looks like this took a hit in shipment because I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have sent it to me that way. I know this piece goes under. No, I'm gonna have to take it apart to get it back in there. But anyway, sorry Vault 60 Overseer, but I do not see the item that you included. I have a sticker that is my logo on the inside. You'll see. Yeah, I really don't see it. Sorry. I'll plug it on the description. No, I'll send you send him an email and I'll plug whatever he is in the description. I said something about having a YouTube channel, so that's definitely something I'll do. Anyway, so let's go take a look at this. I guess we'll start with the drive since it's bothering me that the case is open like this. He says that the floppy drive doesn't work. He says it gets some power now, but it cannot get to read-write. And then he has no power to the other external drive or a Gotek. So I guess he's saying that when he plugs another drive into the back of this, there's no power. So yeah, I remember him saying something about it probably being power related. So anyway, let's get our tools out and everything ready, and let's just take this thing apart and just take the case off of it and give it a cursory examination real quick before we plug it in. Anyway, so let's pause the video right here and get our tools out and get started. Ah, inside the case. Oh, I see. He sure hit it, didn't he? He hit it inside the 1010. So he's a microbrew? Vault 60 Brewing. Cool. Yeah, shoot. Hopefully this isn't broken. Well, the button is definitely bent. But I don't think the plastic is broken. So, oh wow, it's, oh man. This dang thing is, okay, here we go. I'm gonna get a close-up of this for you because I think he's going to be interested in seeing this also. It really seems like, let's just get a close-up here for you. So this took a hit in shipment, I guess, and it bent the metal bracket that holds this, but it also kind of looks like the thing, I guess it kind of took a hit like this or something, because it bent, it looks like it bent the corner of this tray up a little bit too. So I don't think we might not be able to get a disc in there before we have to take that apart and check it out. But that's a shame. This is kind of a pain, isn't it? Okay, so there we go. So here we have our little circuit board. Down here, not much to it. Probably just some basic logic. Just gonna disconnect the drive and just take a really close look at it here. Yeah, the idea is I want to definitely try to get this plastic button off of here without breaking it, so that I can get in there and bend everything back into place so that we can actually test this thing. Yeah, so you can see that I just needed to lift up this tab a little bit, and I did it without breaking it, so yay. So now we just need to remedy this situation here. It's bent to the side. It's tweaked like this, and so that edge is a little too high. It's kind of, I mean, it would have had to have taken, this is thick metal, you know? Like a 1/16 of an inch, so I don't know how, that was a pretty good hit it must have taken. And here it was inside a box. And it was wrapped up with bubble wrap, but somehow, like I'm looking at the box, it's just, he just repurposed an Amazon box, and I don't really see any evidence of a squash or anything, so I don't know. He didn't mention this to me. Maybe he sent it to me this way. I don't, I just think that's really weird. The symptom is that it seems to turn on, but it doesn't read discs. So I'm not going to put a disc in here until I fix this problem. Yeah, this isn't the same brand of, I think the one in the Amiga is Amiga 1000. Mine and also my friends are actually Matsushita, if I'm not mistaken, the JU363 or whatever. Or was it Chinon? I don't remember. But yeah, so let's take this out of its outer shell. Yeah, I just don't know. I really want to take this piece out of here so that I could actually get it properly straight without you're always in the danger of bending another part of it. When you're trying to bend this, you just go ahead and put pliers on it, and you just start bending it, and then you wind up bending something else, and you get like a wave going. Yeah, I think we're going to have to just bite the bullet and take that piece out of there. It is a movable piece. It's the ejection bracket, what you'd exactly call it, but this looks like it's out of alignment. Yeah. But it looks like without the springs it just lifts out. There's a loop and a open hook, and the open hook goes on the bottom and the loop end of the spring goes over the top. This is going to slam the head down when I take it off. Got two more springs that got to come off. Again, we got a situation where we've got the I might have to actually look at this video when I'm putting this back together to make sure I get it all right. Yeah, this is ridiculous. So basically the carriage that I need to get out is held in place by some little tiny tabs, one here, one there, one there, one there, that are sticking out of these slots. And so you know, and there doesn't seem to be a way to get them out besides just bending things to get them out, which is unfortunate. I don't really want to do that. Let's see if I can do one side. Because, you know, you bend metal and it tends to somewhat kind of stay that way, bent. There we go. Got it. And not too much deflection on the metal there. Okay, so let's bend this bracket back to where it needs to be and make sure it's straight, and then we'll put this thing back together. You see that? We have our drive hooked up externally. Got a disc that we know works. Let's go ahead and just observe it. Okay. Actually, we have 3.1 ROMs in here. That means we can that's an interesting sound. This drive should technically work by itself. Let's go ahead and unplug the 1010 chassis. It should just technically work as is. So let's just see what happens when we do this. Yeah, okay, so I think what we have is we have a bad floppy drive. The floppy drive isn't working properly. It did exactly the same thing it was doing here. It booted, it tried to access the disk, so there wasn't any configuration or cabling problem there. So the let's see, should I try an Amiga drive in here, or should I try the Gotek? Well, I have a Gotek right here, so I didn't know this, but you know, when I did that test a few minutes ago on video, if you don't have a floppy in DF0 and you have one in DF1 apparently on the 3.1 ROMs, it'll just automatically attempt to load that off the DF1. Not sure what compelled them to do that. I guess it's convenient that they did it. Okay. All right, everything's set. Nothing's shorted, I don't think. Let's try this. Yeah, it loaded. What's this doing? You see that? That's odd. There's something going on here, isn't there? The main test I'm going to say that really points me in a direction is the fact that the Gotek works over here. So I think that this is fine, the drive circuitry and everything. So I recently, I don't know if it's been published yet, but I did a video on fixing some floppy drives. And one of the floppy drives had electrolytics that leaked and corroded some of the board, and when I replaced them, the drive worked again. And it had, basically, I think what was happening is the electrolytics were open, and so they weren't doing their job of smoothing the signal to the motor, and it sounded like it was running off of AC. Anyway, this is the point in time where oh look, you have to, oh great. So if we have to do the alignment on this, we have to loosen the screws and turn the track motor with it upside. You know, you have to get to the underside of it, so that's not real swift. You never really want to align these things unless they're in their actual orientation. Upside down is not the best way to do it, but I think that's kind of the way this is designed. I'll bet you we have test points. You see that? I think what would be the reason to have teeth here? There's a hole there, so would you stick a screwdriver in there and make adjustments to the alignment with the drive in the proper orientation? Is that what you would do? So yeah, I got my work cut out for me. So I guess what I'll do is I'll go and check the ESR and maybe even remove these caps and check them. I'm going to pull some of the parts out of here so I can maybe see where that capacitor goes, or just even get access to it in case I want to. Yeah. So I'm going to, you know, just go ahead and, it really seems like it would be a capacitor problem, the way it's intermittent behavior, goofy, wacky behavior. So I'm just going to test those only two electrolytics that I can find, and maybe try to look for some other. There could be some hidden under the chassis here. So anyway, I'm going to do that, and I'll come back if I find anything or if I have something else to contribute. Okay, so here's something I discovered. I figured I'd check this there's a capacitor for input. Yeah, this thing is just goofing off. Let me show you what happens when I go onto the 5-volt input. Yeah. That's not supposed to be... That capacitor may just be open, because I'm pretty sure that we're supposed to have a nice smooth DC signal. So I'm going to check this capacitor real quick. Let's see. Yeah, it's on the 5 volt. It's supposed to smooth that 5 volt rail. So it's coming up with 2.9 ohms ESR. So a 47 at 16 volts is supposed to be 1 ohm. So I think it's not coming up as an open, but then again it's in circuit, so I think I need to take that one out and just check it out. Yeah, that one right there. And almost even, maybe even consider putting a larger value of farad, a larger capacitance in its place. Even consider that, you know, because I don't know, it's a frickin' sine wave. It's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be pretty steady, you know. It needs steady power, unless there's something about the drive that is causing, yeah, it's either way. I mean, that doesn't look right to me. I'm just going to let's take this capacitor out. Let's take this capacitor out and check it outside, out of circuit. See what it says. Okay, it is coming up at 47 microfarad, but the ESR is 2.9. It's also a 6.3 volt on a 5 volt rail. Usually you want to kind of double the voltage rating on the capacitor when using it in circuit. So 10 volts, 16 volt is usually what I see. So I'm going to grab one of those and put it in its place and see if we get a better result. Okay, so how does this look? You gotta be careful. Better? Okay, so that capacitor was not doing its job. However, the drive still doesn't work. And there is another problem that I found. The reason that isn't actually why the drive was moving when there wasn't a disc in there. There are two buttons here. One is for the write protect, you know, whether you have the write protect thing on there or not. And the other button is the drive sensor button. I mean the floppy sensor button, you know, to basically tell it if there's a drive present or a floppy present. And it's kind of, yeah, I can get it to simulate what it was doing before. Basically the button there is intermittent, so hopefully I can squirt some contact spray down in that and wiggle it around and get that more reliable, because that's really screwing me up. Yeah, that was the one thing that was screwing me up, because I moved the drive around or whatever and it would begin to think there was a disc in there. It's because the contacts, something about gravity and moving it around was making it goofy. So disc is in. Disc is out. So I think that's going to work better now. In. Out. Okay, so there's another capacitor on here. I guess another electrolytic. I guess I'm going to replace it too. I did measure its ESR, it was high as well, so let me replace that, test it again, and then we'll maybe think about aligning this drive. Okay, so here's the a capacitor that seems to be for the track motor, and just going to discharge and then test. Well, the ESR is closer to the target, but this actually is a 16 volt. Yeah, actually, that other capacitor was really close. It was coming up close to 47, and it turns out it was a 6 volt, so it was coming up at 2 point something, and here it says you shouldn't be more than 2.2, so that one was super close, but we know the result of replacing that one, so yeah, testing capacitors is not an exact science. Sometimes they would test good and you replace them and the whole thing works better, you know. So sometimes you have to load them up with more electricity than this thing would. I imagine that's probably something to do with it. So let's put a new one in and see what happens. Okay, let's give this another try. Nope. Okay, so I decided to load up Amiga Test Kit and run the drive test, which is a very coarse adjustment that you can use, and it really isn't seeing the tracks at all. That isn't necessarily an alignment issue. If there's a bad passive component on here, like a capacitor or something like that, it will also cause it to not read. But since I know how to realign drives, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get this to change at all. So let me loosen up the alignment screws and see if we can get something. Okay, so using Amiga Test Kit's drive calibration test, which again is nothing but a very coarse adjustment. I can't even get, you're supposed to have, it's supposed to be 11 of 11. I forget if these are supposed to be ones or, oh, it's supposed to be a period. Okay, so these are supposed to be periods, but they're all X. If it's missing, loosen the motor and twist the motor to make that adjustment, to make the head alignment adjustment. And it doesn't matter what position I have this in, I get X's across there. I get no reading from, so it doesn't seem to matter what, oh, and then I also took my oscilloscope and went right on the outputs of the heads, which is right here, and I'm getting, you know, I'm getting a steady pulse signal, a square wave, you might say, and actually it's got actually quite a lot of amplitude to it. It's a very strong signal. It's like higher than 5 volts. Didn't really pay attention to how high it was, but so indicating that the heads are possibly running off of like 12 volts or something like that, but or, you know, more than 5 anyway. So anyway, really strong signal off of 6 of the 8 pins coming off. I think it was either 5 or 6 of these of the pins coming off of the heads. So it's, and I tried replacing the ribbon cable. So this isn't an alignment problem. This isn't a head problem. At least this is my theory. I think it's a passive or active component, you know, one of these passives or an actual logic chip or this, you know, gate chip, whatever this does, or a broken solder joint somewhere. I did the best I could. I actually did all of the connector pins I use a continuity tester, you know, a multimeter on diode, and I put one. Here you have the pin sticking up from the other board and the solder ball around it, and then the pad. Well, I put one probe on the top of the pin and another probe on the pad, and measured continuity on all of theirs, so that there's no, at least I know there's no broken solder joints on the power, there's no broken solder joints on the data. The ribbon cable's okay. This is a Mitsumi. This is a Mitsumi, so I've never dealt with one of these before. It doesn't have the nice test pads. They're not labeled. There isn't a series of pads that are open. There's only vias and pads that components are soldered to. There's no extra pads around. There's nothing labeled. So this is not a very user serviceable or technician serviceable floppy drive, for that matter. I mean, there's a couple other things I can do. I can test the RPMs. I've got an RPM tester that I bought for automotive purposes that I've used for this purpose before. But I just don't think any of that is the problem. It doesn't really give me too many options left available. This is a very rare instance, 1% of the time, where I can't fix something just because I'm not any kind of, so I could say that I don't have the knowledge because I'm not some sort of a floppy disk or magnetic media expert. And on the other hand, I could pretty much fix anything if I have a schematic. You know, if I can measure, look at the schematic, look at the components, follow the path. So anyway, I'm not sure what else I'm going to do with this. You know, I hate to send something back broken and be the first for me. Yeah, sometimes there's been one other time I couldn't fix something of my own. This is the first time I couldn't fix something of somebody else's. But you know, these things are going to happen eventually. You know, if something is just worn out, it's going to be unfixable unless there's replacement parts available. And but unfortunately, I'm not even getting that far. I'm not even getting to the point of being able to diagnose this properly. But it's not a head alignment problem. It's not a power. We took care of the power issue. The power was really bad with a worn out capacitor. We got that nice and steady. And as it turns out, guess what? It didn't fix the problem. Great, that's wonderful. Now it's got some kind of problem. It's got multiple problems. And whatever other problem is remaining is preventing us from getting pretty much any signal from the heads to the Amiga. It just won't. You know. So here we have the GoTech with Amiga Test Kit, and it's just an example of what it's supposed to show. You know, a bunch of dots, no X's, and I can wiggle this around all I want, and it's fine. So, of course, it's fine. It's a GoTech, but yeah, I'm gonna have to admit defeat on this one. Pretty sure. I'm just gonna take a break, do some more thinking. Probably come up with one or two more tests, and you know, but not spend more than maybe another 10 to 30 minutes on it before giving up. So wish me luck. I'm crossing my fingers, but it's not looking good. Uh-oh, he's got the case back on. That's either good news or bad news, right? Yes, it's bad news. I actually think, now if you remember earlier in the video, we had a 5-volt rail that was really noisy, really messy. And we replaced the filter cap and smoothed it out quite a bit. But I think that actually might have damaged, you know, that messy 5-volt signal may have damaged a component on here, because frankly, I don't think there's anything wrong with the heads. They look like they're in really good shape. They're very clean. And pretty common that I have something that is broken that has more than one problem with it. Not only is there a capacitor problem, but there's also something else. And I can only think that the capacitor problem, capacitor problem caused whatever else is wrong with this. I can only think that would be a kind of a likelihood in my mind. Anyway, so on to the next thing.